So welcome to Health Fox. I'm here today at 150 West 28th Street. We're here at Rockstar, and this is one of those magical places that makes it such a joy to live in New York City. So, do you want to come inside? Let's see what we've got in here. It's pretty amazing in here. All right, I'm Kevin Schuker. This is Health Fox.
The world is made up of three groups. There's the animals, the plants, and the minerals. And tonight we are going to consider minerals and their very older cousins, crystals, and their special quality. For crystals are beautiful, crystals are rare, and crystals are vibrant. For thousands of years, traditional healers have been using crystals to stimulate and rebalance the body. They have been described poetically as frozen water from heaven or solidified light. And these terms perfectly describe the wavelengths of energy that are trapped within the crystal. All crystal can be identified by color, and all color is a representation of a visible frequency. For example, red. Red has a frequency of 436 trillion vibrations a second, whereas green, now that has a vibration of 584 trillion vibrations a second. The difference between these two vibrational levels corresponds to a difference in visible color. And it is these frequencies that are utilized when we use the healing qualities of crystals. So now let's look at our energetic body. We learn from traditional Chinese medicine that there are 12 meridians passing through the body and 8 holding vessels. And then from Indian medicine we learn that there are 7 chakras in the body. Now these chakras are very interesting because they have corresponding colors. The first chakra is red, the second is orange, the third is yellow, the fourth is green, the fifth is blue, the sixth is purple, and the seventh is ultraviolet. Now these chakras are energy regulating centers for the body, and they also have corresponding layers within our aura. Now when we're working with crystals, the therapist will utilize the trapped vibrational frequencies within the crystal to rebalance this chakra system. For example, if we take the fourth chakra, one over the heart, if we were to find that that chakra was to become imbalanced, by putting a green crystal or green mineral over the chakra, it will begin to vibrate at the same vibrational frequency of the crystal, bringing it back into balance. If we were to use a red crystal, then we would use that to rebalance the first chakra, because that is associated with the color red. So color therapies can be used to stimulate the chakra into rebalancing itself. However, when we use a crystal, we're not just using colors and trapped frequencies, but we're also using all the other information that has become trapped and stored within those crystals. Because crystals are not just generators of vibrational frequencies, they also record energy. The ability to record information is true of all crystals, and this has been utilized primarily by the computer industry in making silicon chips that record billions of pieces of information in all our computers. Now, crystals are created over millions of years. They are beautiful to have in your home, and they are incredible to work with. Later in the show, we have a fascinating talk with Joanne Parks. Now, she's the keeper of an ancient 18-pound life-size crystal skull that dates back over 5,000 years. This skull has a name. Its name is Max, and you're meeting him tonight. But first, we're going to bring you an interview with Walter. He's from Rockstar here in New York City. Now, he may not play the guitar, but he knows a lot about minerals and quartz, and he's going to share a lot of information with you tonight. So, here's Walter.
So here we are, we're inside Rockstar, and what an amazing place this is. I'm here with Walter, one of the co-owners, and he's going to give us some great information about all these rocks and these crystals. How long have you been here, Walter?
We've been in this location about 6 years. Prior to that, we were in Park Slope in an old rectory, and we were in the basement, and it was like a crystal cave, even leaking. And a lot of people like the space, and they miss it, but we wanted to be in a place that had a nice bathroom down the hall. So that's one thing that we accomplished here. So it's not the crystal cave, but it feels like one sometimes in terms of the ceiling to floor crystals.
Absolutely. It's really beautiful. It's amazing to be in here. So Walter's going to show us around, show us some of the different sections, some of the fabulous crystals we have, and give us a little explanation. So enjoy our tour. So Walter, let's have a look here. I see you have a wonderful selection of crystal balls here. So whereabouts do these come from, and what different types of crystals do we have here?
The crystals come from everywhere in the world. What we're looking at here, the purple ones are called amethyst, which is a form of quartz. These clear ones are clear quartz crystals. They're over 20 million years old. And the crystal grew that way and then was shaped into a ball. The pink ones are rose quartz. Some of the other balls here are smoky quartz. All the crystals have inclusions. That's one way that you could tell that they're totally natural. Most of the quartz that I have here is from Brazil, though the crystals are from different places. Over here,
yeah, should we take a little look back there?
we have balls that have things growing in them. It's called rutilated quartz, and some of them have stibnite in them as well. These pieces here are all rutilated quartz with stibnite, and that's why they sparkle like they do.
Wow, that's amazing inside there. It's kind of like, they look like little pieces of wire or something stuck inside.
Exactly, and it's amazing that something like that could grow in something as hard as quartz, which is 7.5 on the hardness scale. Steel will not cut it. These balls, which is what I wanted to bring you over to, these are calcite spheres. They're optical, and they're from China. And this beautiful color and transparency is the optical calcite.
Wow, when I look into that, it seems to have like a holographic type of effect. It sort of like has dimensional, what do you call those, kind of like striations within it?
Yeah, those are the growth patterns of the crystal. And it's a soft crystal. It's not as old. Here goes a green optical calcite sphere. And these are an aspect of them. Over here, a crystal, which is from Madagascar. These beautiful blue crystals, they have a nice peaceful feeling to it. I think that blue tells us certain things, but they all grew that way. They're natural, and they're geoids. It's interesting that any one piece, this is what it looks like on the outside.
Is this like a volcanic outside? Are these buried in?
These are not volcanic, but they're from Madagascar, and they're newer crystal. They're softer. The quartz crystals are volcanic, but when they break open the rock, this is what they find inside of the rock.
Wow, that's beautiful.
This over here is a quartz cluster. That cluster grew that way, and that's Brazilian. And it's quite a spectacular piece with a giant generator point here and double terminated points over here in terms of its growth patterns. These are purple and green fluorite specimens. These are actually from Mexico.
Okay, Walter, here we see, are these are all natural quartz formations?
Yeah, they grew that way. Each one is different. There are never two clusters that are the same. What you see here is the crystal points growing from its base. Some of these pieces here, which are kind of amusing, these quartz clusters here grew this way, but they were enhanced by bonding them with precious metals. These, for example, here was bonded with titanium, which gave that effect to the quartz crystal. It sort of enhances it and makes it different. All these clusters are Brazilian, though some of the pieces that I have are from other countries. So the crystals occur everywhere in the world, but some crystals occur in only certain places. For example, this beautiful blue crystal is called cavensite, and it's from India.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
And its sparkle is fantastic. This apophyllite here, this is the blue crystals occurring here, is also from India. The quartz, this piece here is a lapidated piece of smoky quartz. It's kind of citrinated. And to cut it, they had to cut it with steel covered with synthetic diamonds. We were talking about crystal balls before and having pieces growing in it. What's growing inside there is stibnite. Stibnite is a crystal that's found in China, though this is a Brazilian piece, so it has rutile in it and stibnite. This, for example, is a large quartz ball. If you notice, inside the ball, there are rainbows.
Yes, I can see that, yes.
These rainbows occur naturally within the crystal. They're actually fractures, and people will look inside the ball and see the patterns in the formation, and it's nice for that purpose for meditation and to see things that we don't normally see. The crystals being beautiful make us aware of how much beauty actually exists in nature. We're talking again about how things grow in the crystal.
Oh, that's quite a rock we have.
Yeah, sure is. And it's clear quartz, and if you notice, there's two little black lines in it. Those two black lines are just two tiny black tourmaline crystals that are growing within the clear quartz.
That's beautiful. And I believe over here we have some stones that we can use for massage. We can have a look at those.
Sure. Okay, I have a couple of 100,000 items here. And here I have massage tools that are made of various different crystals. This one is a quartz massage tool. Notice its shape. It looks like a shoehorn. One reason why it's made like that is so that you could actually touch soft tissue.
Right.
It's smooth, so I could feel it. It's also curved, so that I could use it for pressure points. Mm-hmm. The crystal also fits in the hand, so it could be held that way. When people use it for massage, they often will touch it on various energy centers in the body. People call it chakras, but they conform to our organs, our heart, our throat, our temple. And this is one particular type of massage tool. So these tools are used by various people for massage and also for collection. They're beautiful in themselves. People will take them and arrange them in patterns, in grids, as objects of beauty. And I think it's personal. People have to choose the ones that they like. Some of the pieces here are simply worked objects.
Some others I can quite recognize, but they are beautiful. And these are more for decorative reasons, or these are for the home? To impart energy in the home?
I have a lot of people who come here and use it for feng shui, for arrangement in the house as energy centers, but they're also objects of beauty. Yes. They're alive in their own way, and they're like art objects. Cathedrals are very interesting because this is how they look on the outside. This was like a football. They cut it open, and here is 1/4 of this little piece. And this piece is not expensive. This piece is like $40.
So Walter, these look absolutely amazing, so beautiful. And these, I believe, are called generators. They are used by healers to focus energy. Is that how you would describe the use?
Yes. a large crystal point is called the generator because people say it generates more energy. This is one single piece of rose quartz. Rose quartz generally occurs in rock form. If this pink-purple rock here is one rock of rose quartz, and it occurs like marble. They mine it out. So all these shapes here actually were created from a ball to a generator to a pyramid.
Okay, so Walter, so as we saw Max yesterday, and I see you have a fabulous collection of crystal skulls here. How long have you had these, and whereabouts do you get all these skulls from?
I travel a lot, and they're from many different locations in the world. For example, labradorite is from Madagascar.
This is amazing stone. It's translucent. It's I've never quite seen something like that. It's got like a deep sheen to it.
Yeah, it's quite a lovely color. It has an opalescent effect. And so this is made from labradorite, and this is something that you're not going to get in Brazil because that's not where it occurs. Right. Here you have a quartz crystal skull, and look at the rainbows in its head. Yeah. This skull is from Brazil and was made in Brazil, along with things like the amethyst skulls. They're very well crafted.
Beautiful.
And each has their own color and their own transparency. Right. Some of the skulls here, this green skull is fluorite. The fluorite is from China, and this was made in China.
Okay. And looking on the other side of this collection, we have...
Not all skulls have to replicate the human face, but in a way I think he captured a human emotion here that we all like, and Casper the Friendly Ghost certainly will enjoy this skull, which is a beautiful color and transparency.
Yeah, that's a very different kind of facial expression on that one. That's very, very funny. And we see we have different sizes, and you have quite a collection here. So I'm sure Max would be happy to hear that all his friends are hanging out deep here in the heart of the West Village here at Rockstar. We want to thank Walter very much for this great tour. It's been fascinating to spend some time with you and to hear some of the knowledge you have for us. I want to thank you very much.
You're quite welcome. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
So if you're in the neighborhood, please come down and give Walter a visit. Come spend a little time in here. It's worth just to look around. Come in here, feel the vibration in here, and come and see some beautiful pieces of nature's own art. Until next week, I'm Kevin Schuker, and this is Health Vox. Hello, good evening. Schuker, and this is Health Vox. And today we have an amazing interview with Joanne Parks, who's come all the way up here from Texas, and she's come here with a crystal skull we now know as Max. So, Joanne, this is quite a thing you brought up here to New York. So tell us a little bit of history of Max and how you came to be with Max.
Well, there's a lot that goes on with Max. I mean, it would take an hour here. But basically, Max was given to my husband and I by a Tibetan healer who was a Red Hat Lama. This was a very high-profile person. He was an American. He was the only American that went in to study to be a Red Hat and came out alive, which means he studied a very early form of Tibetan Buddhism called Bonpo. And that's chocked full with ancient Tibetan shamanistic practices. He was found and backed by our 14th Apollo astronaut, Edgar Mitchell, who walked on the moon, the late Doris Duke here at Duke Universities, the late Yul Brynner, the actor Yul Brynner, Harry Saltzman, who was part of the James Bond movies, and a man named C.V. Wood Jr. At that time in the 70s, he was head of the American Stock Exchange and former Cool Oil Company, and a man called Tom Slick Jr. And for those who do not know who Tom Slick Sr. was, He was the one who went into, in the 70s, in the Himalayas looking for the legendary Bigfoot against the government's wishes. And then he mysteriously died in a plane crash. So all these people backed him. However, he wanted to be a healer. He really wanted to know the medicines that came out of the Amazons and also into the jungles of Guatemala. While he was there, he was gifted the skull. And being that I never heard of crystal skulls, I didn't know any more to ask him, and he wouldn't have told me anyway, because monks believe life is a learning lesson. You learn through initiation experience. They tell you nothing. And he opened a healing center in Houston called Chakapoi Ling, and that was in honor of the then renowned medical school in Lhasa, Tibet. And they placed the skull, and at that time it was just skull, on their altar, and they used it as their healing and their spiritual tool. And they would talk and chant Tibetan to it and claim they communicated with it. And he has a very high energy field. Most crystals give off energy in one direction. Max gives off energy from side to side, front and back, and top and bottom. It's like a light globe giving off energy around it all the time. He's emitting this high intense energy. And they would tap that energy and focus it into the meridian and acupuncture points of the patient's body. So they used it as their healing tool. They revered this as a devotional icon. And I was with them for 7 years and got to watch them do their work. And of course, I didn't just wake up one morning and say, whoa, I got a crystal skull. You know, I think I'll take it out and share it with the world. You know, I really didn't know what I had to share with the world. Or, you know, when you're growing up and someone walks up to you and, you know, what are you going to be when you grow up, little boy? Well, I'm going to be a lawyer, doctor, fireman. You know, what are you going to be when you grow up, little girl? Well, I'm going to be a crystal skull carrier and take it out and share it with the world. Well, you know, excuse me very much. I'm sorry I asked. I was raised a mainstream Lutheran. However, I had always had an open mind and a willingness to learn. And I always felt if one didn't have an open mind and a willingness to learn, there's really nothing for you anymore. You've become a know-it-all. And once if you think you become a know-it-all, that's just when you quit learning. So if you don't look and examine other people's beliefs, other people's truths, how are you going to know what your own truth is? You really have nothing to compare it to.
Would you say there's a message with the skulls, or would you say that Max has a message for humanity?
There's a legend that goes with the skulls. And the legend states that there are 13 authentic ancient crystal skulls the size of human skulls that are said to speak or sing. And that these skulls are said to contain important information about the purpose, destiny, and history of mankind, and answers to some of the greatest mysteries of life in the universe. And that one day, all of the true ancient crystal skulls will be rediscovered, and they'll be brought together for their collective wisdom to be made available. But, of course, there's always a catch. Mankind first has to be sufficiently evolved, both morally and spiritually, so as not to abuse a great knowledge. Well, you know, kind of look at the world as it now. So according to their own legend, these crystal skulls, all of the true ones, will not be discovered till mankind has their act together. And I've worked with many indigenous people. They say that legend has been handed down over thousands of years by Native Americans, including the Mayan and Aztec descendants of Central America, the Hopis, the Navajo, the Cherokee, have all had a legend of the crystal skulls. But to me, Max is about, and the skulls represent many different things. And that does depend on a person's levels of growth and understanding. But he represents truth and integrity and respect. And the truth and integrity is how one represents the artifact. And the respect is of the artifact and the indigenous people, person, and culture who created it. But again, they're very, very much about self, tapping into self, the awakening of self, remembering who self is, and tapping into that path of the higher consciousness, who I call the God consciousness. So Max is different for everybody. People ask me, well, what is he going to do for me? I don't know what Max is going to do for each individual because, again, we have a frequency. Crystal has a frequency. And when you touch it, it picks up on your own individual frequency and expands it. So crystal does three things. You touch it, it picks up your individual energy, it expands it, it projects, and it gives it back to you in the form of thought, in the form of visions. So I kind of think what's in a person's heart and in a person's mind eventually comes out of that person's mouth. Right. So Max is really about individual self and individual growth. He's not here to raise the dead. He's not here to have people walk on water. He's here to inspire. He's here to encourage your spirit. He's here to give you an insight into many different things about the self.
Absolutely. And I just had a session with Max, and I found it quite an experience. I did see many images in Max, and I felt a great calmness with Max as I was in the room with him. It was as if he was saying everything was going to be all right, and I felt a connectedness throughout history through him, a great depth of history. Do you have an age for Max? Do we have any idea of when he may have been
Max
born?
is ageless. Of course, all crystal is ancient. You see these here on the table. These are contemporary skulls carved in China. I've seen them up to a few $100 to many thousands of dollars. And all this crystal is ancient. It does not mean that all crystal is anciently carved. So you go by the tooling marks, and if it has a tool mark, they know contemporary skull. Of course, Max didn't have any on him. And the way he's carved against the grain and drops it at a 30-degree angle instead of a 90-degree angle, and the cracks that are in him, major cracks, that when you carve these new skulls, you use a high RPM tool. And if you hit one of those major cracks in any crystal, you have a lot of rock on the table. It's somewhat brittle. It's very difficult to carve. So with the major cracks that Max has in him and the angle that he's carved in, tools couldn't have carved him. It had to be done over hundreds of years by hand. So basically he is one of a kind. The museum just refused to comment. They were, when they come out of the box, their mouth dropped.
You come to New York twice a year, and you make Max available at those times. How would anybody contact you if they wanted to find out a little bit more about Max and when you're visiting New York?
Well, you can do my email, maxandjoanne@hotmail.com, and that's basically it. You can call me, do my email.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, we want to thank Joanne very much. We've been sitting here chatting about the skulls most of the evening, and she has such a great knowledge of these skulls and the minerals and how these incredible artifacts can be used to heal us and to help us move forward with our lives. So it's so great to have you in New York. This is such a special occasion, and we really encourage you to look into the history of the crystal skulls. Do some research, try and find out for your own good, because this is information that can really make a powerful influence in your life. So again, thank you very much for looking after Max all these years, and thank you for bringing him to us. I'm Kevin Schuker, and this is Health Vox.